Hello viewers, how are you? Hope you are fine. Welcome back to my channel Drawing Time with Story. If you are new in my channel, I will introduce myself and my channel with you. I am Suraya Parvin, and in my channel I just select an object or a theme to draw, and while drawing he will not get bored because I will narrate a story or some stories or deliver some pieces of information to you, or simply we gossip the occurrence just happened around us, and obviously it's related to the topic I select to draw. I like to talk, I like to share my experiences with you, so it was the best time pass among us to watch a drawing video and along with listening to a story. So as you saw, my today's topic was about a lighthouse, and it's just the continuation of the second part of the scary or the creepy stories related to the lighthouse. So jump to the story time. So our today's first story is named as Home to Much More Than Your Regular Old Ghost. There is a lighthouse off the coast of Brittany that is as deadly as it is gorgeous too. It's the Thevenik Lighthouse, and while it stands on a tiny rocky island, it seems like it defies all logic and sanity. According to Complete France, the lighthouse was built in 1875, and the island already had a deadly reputation. Sailors who got caught unaware would be swept away by a current that inevitably led to being bashed on the island's jagged rocks, giving rise to the legend that it was occupied by none other than Uncle Death himself. The fate of the first lighthouse keeper does nothing to debunk that. Henry Greensick immediately started hearing ghostly, disembodied voices and just went get mad. The next two lighthouse keepers died mysteriously, and the fourth, he slit his own throat. So as I started that it is scary too, and it is really scary. So the priests were even called it on to perform exorcisms on the island, but it didn't seem to work. Even when in 1893 crucifixes were embedded directly into the rocks. 4 years later, a family moved in, and while at last automated as early as possible in 1910, it's probably for the best. And the next story's name is It's Important to Pay Your Last Respects. Michigan's Civil Choice Lighthouse stands along a particularly dangerous stretch of coastline. Even with the beacon built, it was being built in 1892, there has still been around a dozen shipwrecks and 500 deaths along the stretch. It's really scary, I think so, because 500 deaths is not a small amount, it's a big number actually. One of the men responsible for overseeing the lighthouse was Joseph Willie Townsend. He was the keeper between 1902 and his death in 1910, and some say that he is still there. How do they know? For starters, they say that he is still smoking the cigars that his wife had hated, and visitors can still smell the smoke that she despised. According to those who work there today, and the information was via America's Haunted Road Trip, Townsend's spirit is a bit of a joker. He is fond of moving the silverware, and he reportedly leaves indentations in the bed where he lies down for a nap. Some have even seen him walking the grounds or looking out of a lighthouse window. But that brings up another question. What is it that keeps him there? Pure Michigan suggests it might have something to do with the amount of time he laid in state in the lighthouse before his family could reach him to pay their last respects and give him a proper burial. He remained there for almost 3 weeks, and it's possible that he realized he was so comfortable he might as well stay. And our next story is titled as Is an Ill-Fated Lighthouse Keeper Trying to Get Visitors to Join Him? The Point of Ayr Lighthouse, also called the Thevenik Lighthouse, was built in 1776 and it has been abandoned for a long time. Since around 1840, says Atlas Obscura, you can only reach it or return from it during low tide, when the footpath is accessible. And you would probably want to keep an eye on that, as you don't want to get stuck staying the night. Some visitors have reported some eerie happenings that suggest the ghostly entity of the lighthouse last keeper might be trying to drag new souls into the afterlife to keep him company. According to the stories via the BBC, plenty of people have seen a man walking around the tower, footprints appearing out of thin air on the beach, and some have seen the flickering beam of a flashlight within the locked and sealed lighthouse. It is thought to be the ghost of the last keeper, a man named Raymond. Raymond, is said, died of a fever, and here is where things get weird. Some people have reported going to visit the lighthouse and suddenly feeling incredibly sick, usually with a fever. When one family went there on holiday with their 5 children, their visit was cut short when 4 came down with a high fever and tonsillitis. They would have no idea that the last keeper had died of a fever, and while they all recovered was Raymond de Koning. So our next story is titled The Lonely Ghost of a Lighthouse Keeper's Grief. The New London Leys Lighthouse is a little different than most, according to astonishing legends. It was built on a man-made island in 1901. Why? It was needed to help control the growing amount of traffic going in and out of the constituted harbor. Over the years, those working at the lighthouse have reported all kinds of eerie phenomena. Some have woken up in the middle of the night to hear someone calling their name, while others have heard ghostly footsteps, doors open and close by themselves. And fortunately for workers, the ghost is a helpful one, and sometimes even mops the floor, polishes brass, and cleans the windows. Oh, that's so amazing. The ghosts are really very friendly with the workers. He is called Ernie, even though the general consensus is that it's not his real name. He seems fine with it, though, and seems perfectly content, unlike he was in life. The story goes that he was a lighthouse keeper sometime in the 1920s or 1930s, at a time when 3 or 4 man crews tended the beacon. While he was at the lighthouse, his wife ran away with another man. Heartbroken, he decided to end it all. He climbed on the top of the building and jumped. His body was never recovered. Our next story is She Kept on Playing Over and Over and Over. Tending a lighthouse with 21st century technology might not be so bad. you could fill the hours with cat videos and MMOs, so that would be a win. Back when most lighthouses were still manned by actual people, though there were fewer ways to fill the hours between tending the lights. As a couple tending Maine's Seguin Lighthouse discovered in the mid 80s. According to the Press Herald, the lighthouse keeper bought his wife a piano in hopes of filling some of her time, and undoubtedly the silence, with music. The piano arrived and she chose her favorite song. She practiced the same song over and over and over and over. The keeper suggested she play a different song and volunteered to order her new sheet music, but she refused and kept playing. And she kept playing over and over again. The repetition drove the keeper mad, and he took an axe to both the piano and his wife. When the music stopped and he snapped out of his murderous rage, he realized what he had done and killed himself too. Those who visit the island today often report they can still hear the tinkling of the piano. It's unclear whether or not that is the keeper that appeared to volunteers in 1985, who were removing furniture after the lighthouse had been demolished. The man wearing old-timey oilskins told them to leave his home alone. They didn't, and later the boat full of furniture sank. The next story is not all goals are of the living. The lighthouse at Alaska's Eldred Rock was built between 1902 and 1906, years after the tragedy that had convinced Congress and the Lighthouse Board that a lighthouse was indeed needed there. It was 1998 when the Clara Nevada, loaded with dynamite, around 100 fortune-seeking passengers, and about 800 pounds of gold that came courtesy to the Alaskan gold rush, leaves Skyway for Seattle. She never made it. Just 30 miles into the journey, she collided with Eldred Rock, burst into flames, and sank. While it was widely reported that there were no survivors, one of the ship's skips was later discovered, and the ship's captain and fireman later resurfaced. What never turned up? The gold. According to lighthouse friends, it was never officially ruled as sabotage, but it did lead to the building of the lighthouse. And here is the weirdness. On March 12, 1908, almost 10 years to the day from the sinking of the Clara Nevada, a massive storm swept across the island and the lighthouse. When the keeper emerged the next morning, he was stunned to see an actual ship beached on the island's shore. It was a ghost ship, the Clara Nevada. The storm had picked her up from the bottom of the ocean and dumped her on the beach. The same evening, the water reclaimed her. She is now a popular dive spot. So how was the drawing and the stories today? Let me know in the comment section. I am eagerly waiting for your response. See you soon with a new lesson.